notre compte-rendu de la réunion du collège du mercredi 17 juin, aujourd'hui par la vice-présidente Margrethe Vestager. Le compte-rendu sera suivi immédiatement par la conférence de presse sur le livre blanc sur les moyens de garantir un terrain de jeu équitable en ce qui concerne les subventions de pays tiers, conjointement avec le commissaire Thierry Breton. Pour rappel, l'interprétation est disponible aujourd'hui en anglais, français, allemand, danois, espagnol et italien. Et nous ne prendrons des questions que sur le sujet de la conférence de presse. Mrs. Vestager, the floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon. Before passing on to the main topic of today's press conference, let me quickly take you through the main points that we discussed during today's college meeting. Today, we are proposing our European vaccine strategy to accelerate the development, manufacturing and deployment of vaccines against the coronavirus between 12 and 18 months, if not earlier. The strategy rests on two pillars. First, securing the production of vaccines in the EU and sufficient supplies for its member states through advanced purchase agreements with vaccine producers. And second, an adaptation of the EU regulatory framework to the current urgency and make use of the flexibility in our rules to speed up the development, authorization and availability of vaccines. Of course, we should do so while maintaining the highest standards in terms of quality, safety and efficacy. This is not a European challenge, but a global one. We're not safe until everyone is safe. And the thing is that everyone who needs it should access it. We are ready to explore with international partners if a significant number of countries would agree to pool resources for jointly reserving future vaccines from companies for themselves as well as for low and middle income countries at the same time. An effective and safe vaccine against the virus is our best shot at the pandemic. Today, we also in the College adopted the first ever report on the impact of demographic change. Demographic change affects all of us. It affects our daily life, our quality of life, and our possibilities to develop our potential. And demographic change has implications for the future of our welfare systems and our health systems, housing, infrastructure needs, and our societies as a whole. The report presents the drivers for this long-term change and the impact that it has all across Europe, especially for the recovery from the crisis. It also marks the starting point for the Commission to work even more on this and to address demographic change as one of the key transitions that we are facing at the moment. In the run-up to the EU-China summit on the 22nd of June, the College held an orientation debate on relations with China. It examined the various dimensions of this relationship, both from a bilateral and a multilateral perspective, and how to secure European interests and values in a changing world. And with this, please let me come to the main item with Commissioner Breton and myself that we want to present to you today, the white paper on foreign subsidies. The single market is the key to European prosperity. But it only works if there is a level playing field. And for the Commission, it is a priority to protect that level playing field against the harm that foreign subsidies can do. In response to the call of the European Council, today the European Commission has adopted a white paper which launches a public consultation for ideas for future rules to make sure that foreign subsidies don't undermine the level playing field in Europe's single market. The current geopolitical context is, and the general economic development is the most difficult in recent history. Openness to trade and investment and to the rule-based multilateral order, they are being challenged. Europe's single market makes our economy strong, it makes it resilient, competitive in global markets, creating jobs, and capable of meeting the needs of consumers here in the European Union. And right now, as we start to rebuild from the damage that the coronavirus is doing, we need that single market more than ever. The role of the Commission is to uphold the single market and to take action when third country subsidies their companies and distort the level playing field within our union. For more than 60 years, the EU state aid rules have made sure that subsidies from EU member states do not unduly distort the level playing field. But as Europe's economy has become more open and interlinked to the world around us, it has become clear that controlling subsidies from European governments, that is not enough. Foreign investment is an important source for jobs, for growth, and it's very much welcome in Europe. But when foreign governments give subsidies to support investments and operations in the single market, that can affect our level playing field in several ways. A couple of examples: with subsidies to businesses that are already in Europe, by helping companies to buy up European businesses, or to help foreign companies to outbid rivals in public tenders. And some subsidized companies can even get access to money from our European budget. None of our existing rules can, on their own, solve this problem. Our state aid rules, they don't stop this, because they only cover support given by EU member states, not support given by foreign states. Our merger rules looks at how mergers affect competition in Europe, but don't go into how that merger is actually paid for. Our trade defence instruments, they enable us to act when subsidised products are exported into Europe, but not when the subsidies go straight to foreign-owned businesses here. And our framework for screening foreign direct investment tackles threats to security and public order, but not to the level playing field in a broader sense. So there is a gap here, and that needs to change, and that is the aim of the white paper. If you ran a club and you wanted to make sure that there was no trouble, you could check people at the door before they came in. You could also have checks inside the club to make sure that everyone followed the rules once they were in. And it's the same with foreign subsidies. You can check for them in advance, or you can fix the problems as they arise. Or you could do both. So our white paper put forward several approaches that would allow us to protect the level playing field. The first approach, we called it Module 1, deals with foreign subsidies to companies that are active within the EU. We are proposing that the Commission and Europe's national authority could take action if a company that operates in Europe gets a foreign subsidy that harms the single market. Of course, not every subsidy is harmful. Some might have positive effects. They might incentivize investment that could contribute to jobs in Europe, or they could support vital green and digital transitions. So we are proposing that the Commission can do a balancing test. That means that we wouldn't act against a subsidy that had positive effects that would outweigh the harm done to the single market. On the other hand, if the benefits don't make up for the harm it would do to the level playing field, the authorities would have the power to put things right. They could do that by imposing what we call regressive measures. And these measures, they could come in different forms. A company might have to divest certain assets, or it might have to share the benefits of the subsidy, perhaps by giving other companies in the single market access to research results or infrastructure that may have been financed by the subsidy. The other part of the white paper proposes a different approach. Like security at the door, they are about checking for trouble before it happens. So Module 2 deals with foreign subsidies that help companies buy European businesses. Our proposals requires notification to the Commission, notification of the acquisition of stakes in EU companies that meet certain thresholds. This is notably the case where a company acquiring the stake has received subsidies. Subsidies that might facilitate that acquisition. And whilst the review is ongoing, the acquisition cannot be closed. If the Commission concludes that the subsidies are likely to harm the level playing field, well, then we will take action. That usually means getting commitments from the company not to harm the level playing field, just as we fix most competition problems that we find under our merger rules. The commitments would be similar to the regressive measures that we have proposed for Module 1. And as a last resort, if we cannot agree on suitable commitments, we would have the power to block a harmful merger altogether. The third module of the white paper deals with the threats that foreign subsidies can pose to fairness in our public procurement. And the white paper also deals with the risk that the EU budget could end up in the hands of companies that get foreign subsidies. Thierry would explain to you the public procurement and the budget aspects more in depth. Thierry?
Thank you very much, Margrethe. Thank you.